All right, fellow followers, it is week 7. Friendly reminder, this is a year-long trial, so 52 weeks, where I'm experimenting to see if my Apple Watch Ultra can replace my iPhone 12 mini. If at the end of this year-long trial, I decide that it's not possible to replace my phone with a watch, then I will be selling it. So in 40 something weeks, if you're in the market for an Apple Watch Ultra, you might be getting one from, or I might be willing to sell it to you. We've already come to the conclusion that I will need to keep a phone plan in order to send and receive text messages. So going to Android devices, because the modem on the watch is LTE only, doesn't have that GSM support, and so it uses the phone as a relay. So really the key now, I think, will be researching and finding a phone plan that is cheaper so that I'm saving money at the end of all this, eventually paying off the watch. And then we'll have to get into the numbers game at that point to see how long it'll take to break even. So there's that in summary. Highs and lows of the past week. Uber this past week, last week, they had their annual Go Get, or their annual showcase where they release all their new features. Didn't even know they did this. So we're all maybe familiar with Apple's WWDC, their product launches in the fall, Google I/O, all the stuff that they're working on. Apparently Uber wanted to get in on these keynotes, and so this is their 3rd year doing it. So at Go Get this year, it was family style, so they're focused on creating a Uber experience that's geared towards family. The one feature that I thought really applicable to me is they announced that you will be able to call to get an Uber. So if you call 1-833-USE-UBER, then you can get an Uber sent to you, pay for it over the phone. Their target audience is more than likely the elderly. Maybe they're not as tech savvy, don't have a smartphone. So this is a way for them to essentially call a taxi called Uber. But that's pretty great news for me, because last week, in summary, I needed to get a haircut, but I didn't have access to our car. I bike around town, and so I could not bike to my haircut. Roads are too dangerous. Came to the conclusion that I could lift there, but once I got there, how would I lift back without using my buddy's phone? Yada yada. And so I ended up biking home. We have a roommate, borrowed a car, and drove to my haircut. So I did have a follower that mentioned, hey, why didn't you schedule a lift? Didn't think about that. It was a great idea. So I could have done that, and I could do that for future instances, but I have to know the exact time and place where I'm begin that ride from. So if I don't know that, still in a similar boat. But now, Uber, thank you for watching my video last week and addressing my concern. So maybe I'll be switching over to Uber. Let's see. The other kind of not really pain point, but just something I've noticed is it takes like an hour and a half, up to 2 hours to charge when I'm at sub 10% on my watch. That's probably been the biggest adjustment going from the phone to the watch. So phone charging, you slap it on nightstand charger, the next morning you're good to go. At least for me, I was. But with my watch, I would actually want to get the sleep metrics that the watch tracks, so I want to wear it while I'm sleeping. And so that requires me to be strategic about when I charge my watch. Most of the time, that's when I'm working an hour, 2 hours, sitting at the desk, not a big deal. But on the weekends, it's not as convenient. Got to be kind of strategic. If I know I'm going to be home for this amount of time, not really moving around, slap it on the charger, great, we're good to go. So yeah, there's that. This past week, I got a notification from my watch while I was sleeping that my heart rate had dropped to 38 beats per minute, which they think is alarming. So stuff like that is why I'm interested in continuing to wear the Apple Watch while I sleep. Turns out it's not actually that big of a deal. It can be if it continually happens and gets lower and lower, but 38, not the worst thing to happen. So yeah, that's it for this week. Next week, this coming weekend, I'm going up to OKC for the weekend. I'm going to throw the phone in the bag, but hopefully it stays there most of the time. and we'll see what that's like. So stay tuned. Next week should have some pretty great updates. New city, no phone. Stay tuned.